I'd like to call the meeting to order. 7 o'clock, sharp. Okay, first on the agenda is to review and approve the minutes from the December 10th meeting.
On number 7,
Okay.
the sidewalks, it says Mr. Chapin moved that we apply for funds for the cost overrun. I would like to change that to include the name of the grant.
Okay.
So I would prefer to change it to Mr. Chapin moved that we apply for the additional funds for the cost overrun with the Vermont Transportation Alternatives Grant.
Throw that up here once more.
Mr. Chapin moved that we apply for the additional funds, so put the word the additional, for the cost overrun with the Vermont Transportation Alternatives Grant.
Are there any other corrections? Okay, if none, can we have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the Monday, December 10th minutes.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the minutes of the December 10th meeting are approved. Number 2 on the agenda is to review and approve the select board pay orders. Number 3, review and approve highway, town office, transfer station listers timesheets. Next is time for public concerns. Tony, are you here, public concerns? Are you here, visiting nurses? Which one are you?
I'm not a visiting nurse.
You are. Yes. Are you here for public concerns?
I'm curious to hear any more information about what's happening in Water Street.
Okay, we will.
So, but I'm not. I'm more just to listen.
Okay, we'll have that. That'll come up later.
Okay.
Mary?
I was just interested in the visiting nurses' points that.
Okay. All right, so next on the agenda is the Visiting Nurses Association request for funds from the town, and I'm sorry, I don't have your names.
That's okay. My name is Jeannie McLaughlin. I'm the president and CEO. And I'm Sheila Aubin, and I'm the vice president of clinical operations for the agency.
Okay, and this is Brian Chapin, Lou Russo, Paul Frazier, Andy Coyne, Alexa Clark, we're the select board with Mr. Flower, our secretary.
Okay.
You sent us a request for
We did.
funds, and it was about $2,700 approximately.
Actually, $3,236 for the upcoming year.
Okay, and we had questions about that due to the fact that it seemed like the overall expenses was more for administrative costs than it was for the direct.
Well, we're a service organization. The majority of our expenses are going to be for people because we provide services in the communities that we serve. So that's why it's such a large part of our expenses.
Okay, and how many folks do you serve in Jamaica?
We served 17 individuals,
Okay.
626 visits. They were for the purposes of home care, hospice, girl child health, and some long-term care services.
Okay, now are these the nurses, like if somebody was, say, for an example, in an accident,
Yes.
and they needed, say, along with their physical therapy, a nurse to come in and take their blood pressure and vital signs,
Wound care,
stuff like that.
infusions.
So
Yes.
that's part of that.
Yes, it is.
And usually there are RNs that come?
There
or
are
LPNs?
nurses that come, physical therapists, occupational, home health aides, personal care attendants, social workers.
Okay.
Depending on one's need, it depends on each case, it depends on the physician order,
Okay.
what the physician orders for that particular service.
Yeah, now, I don't know if this question is not proper or not, but I'll ask anyway. The folks that are receiving it, if they have health insurance, that's paid through your paid through the health insurance. If they're not, it's probably
We
not.
we use funds, town funds, yes. So if someone has insurance that covers it or even partially covers it, we certainly accept those funds, we bill for those. And then what's not covered, we find other funding for donations, municipal funds.
Okay. Does anybody have any other questions?
I have a couple.
Absolutely.
I was reviewing the financial report. I think this is what we were discussing that I think Alexa was alluding to. Under expenses, you've got salaries and benefits, then you have direct care costs, mileage, let me say, operating expenses. It might have helped us better if we had a distinction between the salaries and benefits for the administrative versus salaries and benefits for the direct care. Because we understand it's a service environment, and clearly that's a big piece of it. That would help us understand how this works out, because mathematically, your operating expenses and your salary benefits come to 79%, almost 80%. That makes sense when you think you're paying people to come out here to do that. The other thing that came up was when we were discussing this, I and others on the board have had citizens coming to us and discussing things with us. There's a lot of problems being fairly rural and getting the care out here that is both qualified and willing to do the kinds of things. And I was sharing my experience that by the time we got through sharing my experience, we found out that we all had or heard of things that just didn't work very well. And that was my original phone call. I'm the one who called because it was a concern. Historically, I've always had a really high opinion of the Visiting Nurse Association. My mother went through a hospice situation. My father used DNA up in Burlington and Colchester, and they had a superb experience. The experiences down here have not been superb. And I thought that perhaps we could have a conversation about that, and then, I don't remember if it was you or perhaps Wendy suggested, was it Wendy? I remember who I talked to now, suggested face-to-face that it would be a good idea for the select board to present as well, to hear the situation. We certainly want to encourage them to assist it, because it's a valuable asset to our community when it works. And I guess our concern was we all had experiences or heard or had been briefed of experiences where it did not work well.
Well, the more I thought about what you were talking about now is because we're in such a rural area, the folks, the nurses that have to come from far, far away. And it's quite a trip. So it's probably harder to organize something like that.
Let me try to respond to a couple things.
Okay.
Our staff typically come from communities that they live in the communities they serve. So we have staff that live in all the surrounding towns. I don't think we have one that actually lives in Jamaica, but lives like we have one that lives in Londonderry, for example.
We have another nurse that lives in Chester, which I think is probably like 20 miles from here.
Oh, it's a little further than that.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But Cleveland and Londonderry. We have staff live in Dover and other places. So they don't come from far away. So that isn't really a reason. What we cover in Vermont is the most rural parts of Vermont. Our agency has the most rural coverage. So Jamaica being rural doesn't have anything to do with service, or shouldn't have anything to do with the services, because I did bring a copy of the map, although I think you have one. You can see that we're designated in Vermont, so we have, if you will, a puzzle piece. That's the way Vermont sets up home care. We're one of 11 visiting nurse associations, and we're the largest in Vermont. For a number of reasons, that there were, in the 80s and 90s, smaller entities that couldn't sustain services in the way you had to through regulation, and came together to what was the Alliance, and now what's called Visiting Nurse and Hospice at Vermont and New Hampshire. So we do cover. We also take any complaint and concern very seriously. We've gone through our complaint bank, and we have not received any complaints from any active clients.
That brings up an interesting question, because one of my responses when someone comes to me and says there's a problem, I ask, have you shared that problem with the appropriate chain of command? And not always, but some of the responses I'm kind of afraid to, because I still need their help. And I'm reluctant to do or say anything that's going to cut that off in the hopes that it will get better. So my concern is, and then you answered the question that I was going to ask you, have you heard about these problems? there
And
may
I
be a
guess
problem.
I would say that if ever anyone says that to you, please encourage them to call. We aren't going to take services away from anyone. We are not going to seek
Not service.
retribution to anyone who calls. We can't fix the issue if we don't know about the issue, and that's really what we want to do if there is a concern.
And I think our concern was, as we were reviewing the budget, that in fact, if you did not know, you needed to know. And if we become the mouthpiece, that's what we're here for.
Well, we're glad that you let us know. So certainly, that's why we're here.
And I think it was a very small, there wasn't that many issues or anything like that. It wasn't, like,
But even
I've heard a
one is
lot,
true.
even one is true, but I feel that you should have this. I have seen people from your office come and work with people, and they've done remarkable. They really have. They've been on time. They usually call in the morning and say they're going to be there. I know that's the hard part, when somebody's waiting for somebody, but they work around it because they do need the assistance. But I have never had any bad experience with any of the nurses, or especially the physical therapists and occupational therapists. They have been really, you've got a couple of them that come here that are just wonderful.
And I appreciate that, that's wonderful to know, but as Sheila said, we also need to hear if there are complaints or
Right.
concerns, because if we don't hear them, we don't know. We take complaints very thoughtfully, very seriously, and we use them to improve or to investigate what happened. We don't hear them, and so we have to guess that things are fine.
Some of the people that I've talked to, without getting any specifics, say that they had made complaints upstream. So I offer the suggestion that there may be a disconnect between whoever that is receiving the complaint and you guys. There may be a disconnect in there that might need some exploration.
And I would ask you, I'm not going to ask you anyone's names, but if you would encourage them to call us,
Sure.
I've got business cards and I can leave some cards, to please call us directly.
I will do
Because
that.
again, we want to resolve this and make this correct.
Sure.
Jamaica's a very important town for us. It's one of many Vermont towns, but nevertheless very important. We're happy to serve the area. It has nothing to do with being rural at all.
And we do call patients within a week of admission to check and see how things are going, and we also call them after discharge to follow up, as well as doing some random national surveys that are sent out to clients. So, but again, we might miss somebody who's unhappy, so please
Sure.
let us know.
Do you have a liaison on husband relationship with, say, Grace Cottage Hospital or one of the medical facilities, where you can, or someone at the facility has a contact point if they're not happy with the results they're getting with your staff, that they can make a contact that goes directly to you as opposed to whatever your intermediary is?
We get concerns voiced to us from a multiple, and certainly we have a good relationship with Grace Cottage as we do the other facilities in our area.
Because your services come through the doctors and through the hospitals,
We
most
work
of
on
them.
physician
Right.
orders.
Right.
What are your limitations?
Things that go beyond what you're able to do.
Limitations might be, for example, we're not a private duty organization, so we don't provide services at a block time. So if someone needed, 4 or 8 hours, we don't have that service, although it's a service that we've just actually had approved by our board. So we'll be beginning a private duty entity, but it will take time to get that hooked up. So that's been a limitation, so if you needed block time. If you can't get a physician order, we have calls from people and physicians feel that they don't need the services. So that can be a limitation as well. We have to coordinate the whole piece of it to make sure that it works well for us.
Can you be with the person just a period of time, a number of weeks, and you can't go beyond that, or do you have any limitations like that?
Depending on insurance, so for example, Medicare requires 4 things: physician order, that they be homebound, and that's a gray area. How do you define homebound? That they need intermittent services and they need to be skilled. So that's Medicare, and most insurances will follow those same 4 rules. Although, for example, we stretch and add things, again, based on contributions, donations, municipal funding, that will do extra things. For example, someone who has hospice will put in block time services just because we know families need that. So it's, regulation's part of it, clearly, what we can do to extend, but what we can't do is work without a physician order. Because we're clinicians, nurses, therapists who are not independent practitioners on our own.
And just how did we come up with that figure for the town? Based on the...
It's level funding. It's something that was funded a year prior.
Because you've got the information. Was it based on how many people live in Jamaica? Was it based on our...
They base it on what they feel the losses have been. And pretty much, I think we've served just about the same number of people in previous years in Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
And so they base it on what they feel overall has been some losses for the agency.
Okay, so it was 17 residents, 626 home care visits. So you've lost $14,059 due to the fact that either these folks were not insured or their insurance company didn't have,
Absolutely.
wouldn't pay for the whole thing. So you're asking the towns
For a
to pick
portion.
up some of that. Is it usually, it's another question, maybe you don't have the answer, but usually how much is it for like one person? I mean, how much would it'd be out of pocket, more or less?
If someone paid out of pocket for services...
Or say their insurance paid for most of it, and then maybe the copay or something, so these are copays like
I think the majority of
$25.
these are people who didn't have any insurance
Okay,
at all.
okay.
Some people are between insurances, they don't have anything at all, and that's mostly what we're looking at here.
Are these mostly elderly people or a range of
No,
people?
if I look at the breakdown of the sheet, some of these are young children as well that don't have services. So if I look at it again, there were 3 that were maternal child health, which were children. One resident was a hospice for 94 visits. We have 2 residents who use the waiver program who don't have any funds. And then 11 of those 17 are home care, or 237 visits.
Okay, thank you.
So it does range.
It does, okay. That was just,
The elderly are covered by Medicare.
Most of them
Most of
are,
it.
yes.
But
So
there's some, when we're talking the waiver program, for example, Medicare does not cover that. So that's something that's covered under Medicaid, and it's not covered at cost, so there's always a loss there. And we never refuse anybody. We do a sliding fee scale, so that sliding fee scale is what you all are helping to cover, because there's some people who obviously can't afford to pay anything. One of the challenges that the VNA has faced in the past year is that Dartmouth, Hitchcock used to help subsidize patients who came out of there who didn't have insurance, and because of cutbacks, they've stopped doing that. So I'm not sure if any of these patients did come out of Dartmouth Hitchcock, but in the past, they would actually pay a portion for us, and in 2012, they stopped doing that. So healthcare costs are going up, and so they're looking for strategies.
they certainly are. Does anybody else have any questions? Lou, do you? Mary? Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I just don't have any question, really, just listening, just
Okay,
concerned. I mean, the biggest concern we have is that there were some unhappy people, and we want to make sure that you're addressing that. But I don't know if it's possible to let them know. I mean, if they're afraid to come to you, let's say, is it possible to somehow let Jamaica people know that they could come to the Jamaica board and we could help them if they had issues? Because then we could make the contact for them, and
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah, but I think that opens up a whole can of worms, because we become, like, they're advocates. And maybe if they have an issue, they could say, come to the town office, and the town clerk
Something
could
like
give
that.
them a number. You know, you call this. We cannot call for them. I don't think that's our
I
responsibility.
guess I'm not thinking about that.
Yeah.
Just somehow,
It's just-
they can, so that they can,
So they have a contact, so the town clerk can say,
somebody-
okay, you can call so-and-so and voice your opinions, rather than going through a third party, because I
Or
don't think
even
it's...
an ombudsman, which is what you brought up. That's the intermediary, liaison between the person and the organization.
But I'd also like to get to the issue that's why is anyone fearful to come forward?
Say again, Chris?
Why would anyone be fearful? I think we want to get that issue as well. Has anything happened that's made them reluctant?
When you think in terms of the clientele, on average, they've pretty much stretched whatever their resources are about as thin as they can go. And if they have a lifeline, thin or fraying as it may be, they're not going to chew through it unless they've got really good reason. And so my expectation is that they would see you as a lifeline. And an individual who floats across their horizon that does something particularly onerous or doesn't get the job done or for whatever reason doesn't meet your standards, the next one may be okay, so let's let that go and hope for number two. And rather than take a chance on that, as a rule, the healthcare system's frankly pretty scary for an awful lot of people, especially the elderly. We are rural, regardless of whether it impacts on your delivery systems. We are rural, and very often it's difficult to get to places to get help. So it's possible, and I can certainly see that, where people might be reluctant to rattle any cages that they see as at least a potential help because of one or two little things. And it's entirely possible that when I hear something, I think I get more outraged than another because I've got a long history in the medical profession, and I'm thinking this shouldn't have happened. Where the other person says, well, these things happen, and I'm saying, well, no, they don't. And so you may not be getting all that. That's what I was thinking about someone in the hospital. If there was one person in the hospital to whom someone could turn that had your ear.
Well, they can go to their
region.
physician, they can go to their doctor, because most of them are, this service is provided through their physician,
I
so
think
if they
that's-
have an
yeah.
issue, because everything goes back to the doctors, I've seen them put on their little computers, and everything goes right back to the doctors. And I think that, say, a nurse or physical therapist that comes can see if there's a problem. Sometimes also fair to the folks that come, sometimes people don't click, and that makes it hard. You're invading their privacy. Maybe their family said, yes, we need you for this or that, and they really don't want them there because they're so independent. But so that happens too, and I know there's probably one or two that might be a real legitimate issue. But I think, to be fair to everybody, even the ones that might have had a problem, but to the ones that, to be fair to the VNA, that there are a lot of good people out. Right,
Of what you can do and.
right.
I guess the big draw here is that there was enough concern that it came to our attention and did not come to your attention.
Yes.
There's a disconnect there, regardless of what the reason is. It's a disconnect.
Well, go ahead, sure.
One of the issues I've heard about this, and I've heard it too, is that it sounds to me that the only way someone would be able to access their care is through a physician. And sometimes the time frame is way off. Well, for example, perhaps maybe somebody is released from the hospital and then no one contacts them for a week.
But we do contact within 24 hours, then
But
within 40.
see, that I know doesn't happen all the time, so.
We don't have records to say it doesn't, so I would
Yeah.
love to hear about that as well.
You're right.
Yeah, I am right.
Are you referring to long-term care where there's?
No, these are two different instances I know of.
Yes, I would love to hear about that.
Okay. But, and then for one of them, it was an issue that, anyway, there were two issues.
Okay.
And I don't think that that's unusual. I think 24 hours after someone's released from the hospital is not when people first find out. When people first find out, they probably also should find out from you what they can do if they're not satisfied with whatever happens. So that might be part of the beginning meeting with people.
And the staff do go through that as part of the admission packet.
You
But
know.
you can appreciate there's so much that happens when you're
Oh,
getting
I
civil
can.
service.
I can.
That I don't know that, even though they leave a packet behind, I don't know that people remember. And
Right.
then, to the points,
Well, maybe it's
people
whatever.
don't want to sort of, consider that they may jeopardize service, that they may have this feeling that, gee, if I complain, maybe I won't get anybody, although that's not true. To your point, you don't know how people feel. It doesn't sound to me like anyone should be fearful. Who might say?
And there is actually a form in the admission pack that anyone can fill out and mail back into the agency. So again, we're trying to elicit that feedback, positive and negative, from clients that have been in the agency.
Mary?
I really didn't come to get into any of my personal specifics, but sitting here hearing that there have been no complaints, when I personally have complained numerous times and have not had a satisfaction done. As far as a liaison, when Don left the hospital, for example, the last time, they were assured that visiting nurses would have somebody greet us at 4:30 to help him because he was being fed with the tube, and I'd never done it. And nobody was there at 4:30, nobody was there at 5:30, nobody was there at 6:30. The phone finally rang at 6:30 and said, do you need help? And I said, well, I thought you were going to be here at 4:30. He said, oh, they aren't back home yet. But when they get home, we'll have them call you and let you know what time they'll be there. And I said, well, he was supposed to be eating at 4:30. And, it's 6:30 now. So now I'm concerned that he's not eating properly, because we just switched over. So I'd never done it by myself, but I did it. And I said, why don't you call me at 7 and I'll let you know if I had any trouble. I said, where is this person coming from? And they said, just north of Springfield. Okay, which is over an hour. It was probably an hour and 15 minutes for us. So they were going to call at 7. They ended up calling at 7:30. Thank God I was able to feed him without any, I hope it was a major problem. Anyway, he ate. So then the person called at, it was 8:30, 8:45, and said they would be there, by 10. And I said, well, reality is he's already eaten. I've already put him to bed by myself. I see no real reason for you to come now, but I could use you in the morning to see if I'm doing this right. I got a call. They said, somebody will call you first thing in the morning. 10 o'clock, I got a call saying, do you still want somebody to come and help you? I said, I thought somebody was going to be here to help me. So when you sit there and say you haven't had any complaints, I'm sitting here going, oh, this isn't really why I came. But I don't believe I'm the only one. And so when I hear you say those things, I think if the town is paying anything, being a taxpayer, now I am concerned because I've had nothing but horrible experiences for the last 4 or 5 years with visiting nurses. So I came really that afterwards I was hoping we could talk a little bit. But then to sit here and hear you say that you had no complaints, I'm sitting there going, excuse me, if it weren't me personally. So you have had complaints, and they've been numerous complaints.
Do you remember who you had spoken to?
I didn't remember any of the names. They may be written down somewhere, but at the time I wasn't really concerned about that. But there have been several instances that there was a problem, and it wasn't that I didn't bring it to attention. So if you're not recognizing that there really are problems on your end with communication, and I'm not sure, I don't know that our money should be going to that. I would rather see it go to our volunteer rescue here than to go to visiting nurses. In my experience over the past 16 years, I can't give you one good experience. The only thing I can say, and strongly say, and I agree with what you were saying, the people who are coming are excellent. Very nice, very caring. The majority of them have been really, really special, burnt out, upset that they had to drive an hour and a half. 2 years ago, I had somebody come from, was it Northfield, in a snowstorm. Naturally, they were 2.5 hours late getting there. Then the poor guy drove off the road in our driveway and got stuck, and I had to make arrangements to tow him out. You know, so when you say there's somebody locally close by, why on earth are you sending somebody from Northfield to Jamaica, Vermont in the dead of the winter?
I do think we have to clarify that when it's off hours, we do have one person on.
This was
so-
on hours.
Oh, it was on hours.
Yeah, that was our scheduled therapist that was supposed to be coming.
Okay, I can't answer that.
They couldn't either, and they were very upset to think that they had to travel that far. And I don't know that you know how upset your employees are. They're apologizing to me every time they came. Physical therapy, occupational therapy, nurses aid. Just one example of wasting money, and I don't want to waste any more of my money, and this is to our board. When he came home one time, visiting nurses came from Bellas Falls. So it was an hour over. They filled out all the forms for another hour, hour and a half, then an hour back. That was before we got anybody to help. Then the physical therapist is supposed to be coming, or the occupational therapist comes, and she goes, "Oh, excuse me, we haven't filled out the forms." They asked me the same hour worth of questions, the same coming back. No, they weren't there to help Don. They were there to fill out the forms. There was 3 hours of traveling and filling out forms. You know, all you have to do, we're in a pretty modern age, is read the same answers to the exact same questions that I just gave physical therapy. Why don't you give it to occupational therapy? And the nurses, they had to do it 3 different people, 3 different times, so that was 3, 6, 9 hours, and it's done. Still haven't seen anybody to help.
Okay, I think Andy
I'm
had,
just concerned about where our money in the
I
town
think
is going.
Andy had a question.
I'm sorry to hear about all of your difficulties with the visiting nurses, the service, and we talked about it. The little bit that I heard maybe one of the people that you had been challenging for you, and obviously from what you just said. And I had an experience years ago with a woman's mother. I'm married to the one lady now, but where the nurses sort of didn't seem to know what they were doing. That was the big, and smoking cigarettes. This was a long time ago. And then there were a couple other instances, but we're not hearing about, you know, the other 16, say take 4 off the 17 individuals. Some of them passed away. Those were hospice services. So, I mean, I don't see how we can hear all the other visits having been so not positive, to say the least. I mean, we don't know what's going on with all the other services that have been rendered here, and I wondered how we could poll that or
To
find
be fair to
that
the
out.
VNA,
Yeah, because I'm sure that, yeah, and people don't click. So people are really sick, and it's terrible for the other person. I'd have to tell you ladies that. I mean, so.
but to be fair to the VNA, we do hear, and they want to hear the complaints too.
Right.
But I think we should also tell them the positive
Right.
things
That's what I was getting to.
right, that we have heard from people. I have a dear friend that 3 years ago, she was 92, she had pneumonia, came home and had physical therapy and occupational therapy and the nurses. And you couldn't ask for, they were there on time, and she's a stubborn lady. And they were so good to her, and so she did everything they said, and we had no complaints at all. They've always, you know, been there on time. If they couldn't make it for some reason or other, they would call me or call her and tell her. And then a neighbor of mine recently, he's been released from the physical therapy and occupational therapy, and and he had very good, you know, he couldn't say enough about your service. So I feel it's fair too, you know, these girls didn't come down to get lambasted by us.
Well, sure they did.
And, you know, I want them to know that there are people out there, there's probably just a handful, and I'm sure you would want to make that good. So basically, that's why we wanted you to make that good. But know that your service is very welcomed, and people do appreciate it.
And clearly, you know, with that, you know, we're not supposed to think everything's perfect. And it's been a year and a half or so, we did start to implement, and we did implement the phone calls. So instead of waiting for a patient satisfaction to come back in the mail after someone was discharged for at least a year and a half, to Sheila's point, just to reemphasize it again, we do make phone calls within a week of admission and then after discharge, trying to, if you will, solicit any additional information. And, you know, clearly there's a communication issue here. So, you know, I'm devastated about this and hope that you would please call me and let's talk about this. So I'm not sitting here saying we're perfect. You know, we look at our records and do the best we can and say that we don't see them. We feel we do a good job. Sheila said clearly after hours, some of our staff, they don't work 24/7.
Right.
So the nurse who's on call after, if you will, normal working hours, after 5 or 6 o'clock at night, might come from Springfield. They might come from Bellows Falls. They might come from Windsor. It just depends who's on call that night, because it's, sometimes you'll never get a call, sometimes you get one, but during the day, people who work and usually live in the territories, they cover those areas. So we have nurses who do live close by during the day on most instances.
Well, like I said, I wasn't there to get into the details, but when you said you didn't have any complaints, I went,
Well, and, you know, and I'm concerned to hear about yours.
and that's not one, that was several, from me personally.
Please call me.
I'm here, that's why I came down to talk to you.
Okay.
All right, what we will do is we still have some more budgeting issues to take care of, and so we will discuss this as a board and get back to you. And we thank you very much, ladies, for coming down and talking with us, and have a safe trip back.
Thank you. Thank you for coming, I appreciate it.
Of course, of course.
Thank you. We can leave those in the town clerk's office. Yep,
leave it in the town office.
we'll leave those in the town office.
And I like the idea of recommending that they discuss it with their doctor, if they do come to it.
Right, and Terry, Matt or Terry can just give them that information. You call your doctor, call whatever, because, you know, we certainly have enough to do. Would you give that back to Paul? I'm learning to delegate. Okay, I'm going to hold off on 6 for a minute and just go down the rest, because number 6 is going to take a little bit of time. We received a response from Mr. and Mrs. Copeland. I'm going to let Andy discuss this one and just say what it was about and what we received.
Sure. Back around January 4th, or one day, I went to the transfer station, and Linda and her husband mostly, were cleaning up a couple of bags of garbage that was left outside. I think the previous Monday, it was a Sunday. So something had gotten into it, they had to clean it up. It was outside the gates, and I talked to Lou about it, mentioned it to the chair, and we decided to write a letter to them. There was a ton of, a whole baggie full of evidence with their names on it, and both their addresses. So we sent them a letter saying that we found a couple of bags outside. And they were fined $100, and they sent us a check for $100, to make a long story short.
It's illegal, that's illegal dumping, and once people leave their trash, it no longer belongs to them. So we can do, you know, as we wish.
So there's a letter here saying why, a response, why they did that.
They thought the hours had changed. It does, you know, they just left it the wrong time. They were going to Florida or something, so, but they send us the money, and hopefully it'll deter other people from
Doing
doing
that,
that.
or even thinking about it.
Right. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is we have an application from Dominic Mangano for a new address, and also lots of little Jamaica things here. An application for an access permit. So I believe the access permit would be for going from the road into his driveway. Is that right?
Yep.
Is that Dominic down here?
Yes, it's on Dalewood. I'm just going to pass that down
Oh.
That's on Pikes Fall.
pass that down to Brian, and he can discuss that a little
Name
more.
backwards.
Does he already have access to the, or is this a new home?
I don't know. I talked to him on call. I already looked at it, but it was like, what was the date?
Not working?
I don't see a date on here.
Is it on the first one? No, the first one is change of address. That's all on Pikes.
No date, but it was like 3 weeks ago that I went up and looked at it. And there was no problem
Okay,
at
so
that site.
there doesn't have to have any culverts or anything
Oh,
like
no,
that?
I mean, just standard. I
It's
told
just-
him he had to put a culvert in and
Okay,
but it was just standard. Site view was okay and everything that we,
he was following all our rules and regulations?
yeah, well, I mean, the only
I mean,
rule and regulation really is at the road.
okay,
You know,
right,
it's a little bit of a downhill, and I told him that, you know, we try to get like 20 feet of flat, or as flat as we can. You can't get flat on all of them, but, so I told him all the stuff that he had to do, and he was fine with that.
okay. Can we have a motion to have Brian sign that?
Yes, I will move that we grant this application for access permit and authorize Brian to sign on behalf of the board.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any other further discussion? If there's no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
That's been approved. Number 9 is we received a regular notice from the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission on the Blue Heron project at Ball Mountain Dam, stating that Blue Heron's requested an extension of time to reach an agreement with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers required by Article 307 in order issuing original license. They have issued the license, the extension of time to 7/31/13. Pass that down. We received a letter notification from the state of Vermont, our certified equal, oh, I spelled something wrong, education, property value, the equalized education property value, 253 million, is that right? 627,000. Our COD is 18.03%.
Let's come down.
You can pass that down. And number 11, I'm sorry, did you say something, Lou?
No, I
Okay.
said it just went down.
Yes,
It's good.
so it's good for us,
It's very
yes.
good for us.
We received a request from, a letter from V-Trans. Thanks. I'll just V-Trans mapping unit is seeking clarification on the classification and on who maintains the road located between the east end of Amadon Road and the west end of a discontinued highway, Old Route 30 in Jamaica. Section of road is approximately 0.010 mile long, has a north-south alignment, and intersects with Vermont Route 30. Although our data does not show this as being a town highway, a signed town highway with stop or legal road signage as well as a break and pavement markings on Route 30 indicate otherwise. Brian, can you pass that down? Can you give us a little bit more information on that?
Which road is Amadon Road?
I don't
That's
know.
Amadon Road. Where is that?
You know where it is, Ryan?
Is that up on, like Indian Westville Road?
No, it's, is that a road?
This Dyer's Road.
It's Amadon, right, Dyer, that's what I thought, it was near Dyer's Road. Is Amadon Road off of that?
That's across where the log pile is, isn't it? Where that's in.
No, it's where, Bear Creek is, right? Bear Creek and then the road
That's
there.
Dyer's.
That's Dyer's
Road.
Road.
There's an Amadon Road sign somewhere up there.
Oh, yeah, it's on the right-hand side.
On the left,
Or further up.
another, where, I can't think of his real name, Ron's brother has a little operation there. Amadon. But that's like, yeah. but Where the logs are.
Yeah, the side road there.
I think so. I'm not sure about
Yeah, that's where it is. Just before
it. This
Bonneville.
is Wyndham County Bennington lines right there.
Right, just before Bonneville, right?
I don't know, what was it asking?
It was asking who maintains part of the
maintains?
road.
Must be
No,
Your
I don't know.
description makes it sound like it's not in Jamaica.
Well, it's near,
Should be out
that
of
old restaurant there.
Oh,
Bear Creek.
yeah.
No, not Bear Creek, I'm sorry, I was in the wrong section. Further down.
On the right-hand side as you're going towards Stratton Mountain.
Right, it's where Cornell has her
Oh.
flower shop.
Flower shop down that
That's
way.
Amadon Road right there.
Yeah, it comes,
Right
one
there.
end of that might be in Jamaica.
I'm looking in, there's nothing on that area called Amadon. There's an ash lane.
Well, part of it's Jamaica, I think, the little part, but the other part's, then there's the sign is right over there. What road?
It's up higher, it's out of Jamaica.
No, it's not. It's not so high.
Oh,
I can't see it. It's the one where this would be Route 30, and then it would go, what's that restaurant?
I think it's more like right up here.
I wonder if that's, that,
Yeah.
no, that's a bridge, so.
But I think it starts here and works back.
It's, where Cornell lives. You know, West Hill is on this side, and then over here, it goes there and it comes out by the
Is this West Hill?
Wadsworth.
Yeah, this is West Hill here.
Yeah, where Wadsworth has his shop.
Right.
It's right, like his shop would be here, on that road would go there. So just, you know, it's that restaurant,
There's a
it's
little
way
bit
there.
of
So
a mark
I think it's
something
just-
right
Yeah, I don't think it's that,
Jamaica.
no, I think it's more like over here.
Because Cornell is, Abando.
This is where the,
They're
well,
not in Jamaica.
here's Dyer's obviously.
That's
so
not
it'd be
where the mountain came
beyond
into
that
Peter's
bridge, pretty much.
kitchen. What's Peter's last name
Look at this
from
map
church?
here.
No,
Here's the,
that's not it.
here's Bonneville
No.
line. This is called Avison Road, but I wonder if that's going to be renamed to Avison.
Avison, no, that's not near Avison Road is up further.
That's a different one?
That's
Steve
definitely, that's
Giles'
definitely in Bonneville.
Right,
Alright.
right by Davis.
And I don't have it, you know. I don't see any
See,
other
it
road.
would be over here.
Well, that's Bonneville line right here.
Right, okay, so, whoops.
So that's Addison Road. But this is called Addison Road here too.
It's right, is that?
Right here.
I think that's Addison
That
Road.
little piece.
And there's a little piece of it, but I suspect that that's in Bonneville.
There's part of it's in Jamaica though.
Right, but the part that intersects with Route 30, which is what the,
But then, right, because the one that comes onto this driveway here.
Well, they both intersect Route 30,
Yeah.
both ends.
oh, both ends?
They're open,
Yeah.
it's open ended.
Here and here.
Yeah.
Even that
There's
is
a little bit of black right there.
Can't be much in Jamaica.
It's not, it's very little. Who maintains that?
Just one little line.
I don't think we go.
One
I don't
pothole
think we go in there. Who's asking?
Watsonville, Watsonville.
Do you have that?
Yeah.
Is that-
Well, it's Benton County would be District 1, wouldn't it?
Is this one?
No.
I handed it down towards Brian then. Is that it?
Yep.
Is there a reason they were asking?
They can't find it either.
I wanna know who maintains it.
They want to maintain the road, basically. Changing highway mileage, but we don't, so if we maintain the road, we have to change our highway mileage.
I think Winhall, Winhall must do it.
Either that or it's private.
No, it's not private.
It's not private?
No. There's a big one.
No, it's not the same exact letter over the wood.
I'll tell you that.
Figuring one of us will find it.
How many feet are they talking about?
One pothole's worth.
Yes, make it-
Oh, is that what they want?
Just about.
No, seriously, how many feet are they, do they say how many feet?
No, they're looking for
It was only the end, right there at
the
the end.
road located between the east end of Eminent Road and the west end of a
So
discontinued
we're
highway.
basically,
Old
we don't
Route
need
30?
to tell them, we don't have.
That doesn't show up
So
on the
the
map
mileage
either.
will not change.
Oh, it'd only be,
Old Route 30, yeah, it doesn't seem to show up on the maps.
Where's the intersection of Route 30?
right here.
Oh, no, no, they don't.
One of them sent a letter
Wait,
back and said, huh?
You're sewing up the whole
This is
discussion.
right here.
I thought it was on this side of the road.
It is. Oh, from out Route 30. Old.
Oh, there it is.
Here.
That's right, I think,
So this is the road.
you know, when I noticed that it
No,
was going
this
to
is-
flood, and it was
This
going
goes to the rest road.
So
Oh,
they have
that's
to,
private drive.
from Stratton
No,
back
this is
down to Jamaica.
No, that's-
This is,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
This is the road.
Anyway,
So it's a very small, so it's not, if we don't maintain it, so it's not gonna change.
Town
our
Highway
mileage.
22. It must be Winhall.
That's Winhall.
Right. It must be Winhall 22.
Yeah. So you say that,
Hmm?
you say that.
Say what? I say we don't maintain it.
Okay, fine. All right, we'll get back to the V-Trans and tell them that we do not maintain that.
And in fact, we think it's not even in Jamaica except for a very small.
A very small, well,
Just the entrance onto Route 30.
Right.
I think it's in Benton, Winhall.
so we'll clear that up. Yeah,
They gotta turn around somewhere.
They
It
do.
isn't gonna be in the middle of the road.
Okay, now we're going to, oh, Tony. I guess we can run that by Tony so she doesn't have to stay here all night.
no, I don't mind. I'm enjoying it.
She's hanging out.
She's hanging out and I'm learning a lot and this is really.
Well, as soon as Paul comes back, we can start discussing Water Street. You can start with your questions if you want.
My just question is just, where are we, what's going on next? I guess that was my first one.
Well, we're going to start Water Street hopefully in the spring. We'll have it properly engineered, and then start construction. So, we'll have to put it out for bids and do all the proper work that we have to do, and hopefully by, I'm going to say fall,
Okay.
maybe it'll be done. We're talking about Water Street,
It's
hopefully.
one of the last things.
So we're kind of, that doesn't take a lot of traffic, so it's not a road that needed immediate attention, like
Okay.
Pikes Falls and West Jamaica Road needed a lot of attention to get it quickly opened up. But Water Street's, you're not forgotten.
No,
Believe me. you're
I
not
guess
forgetting.
what I'm wondering, we were talking at one point before the flooding about a sidewalk or not a sidewalk, or how wide the road was gonna be, or what it was.
Right, that'll be in
And
the,
those are the kind of questions at this point that I would like to know more about.
yeah, we haven't even gotten there. Lou, do you want to mention
No,
something
we
about
haven't even
that?
mentioned it. We were kind of waiting also because
That's
the
a
four
problem.
homes that we were hoping to
Yeah.
have their property
Right.
in our possession before that.
Right.
It looks like
And
that's
will you
not gonna-
continue to wait for that, or?
That- That has been, they denied us, or the folks, so right now, there's other avenues that are being looked into. We have no idea how they'll go through or what's gonna happen. You know, there's a lot of questions that have to be answered so that we do it properly and we don't come up with the same problems we had with the HMGP to get all the folks excited and then have them turned down, you know, and put a lot of burden on the town financially and time-wise to continue it. So we'll have to further look into it really, really good to see what our next step will
Because
be.
I know also that you feel that the construction and the planning will be held up until there's a more final decision.
Not on that
what's
project.
happening.
No,
We're not gonna wait on that project. We'll
Okay.
continue.
We're gonna continue.
All right.
The other thing I can tell you that I've had questions on is when Route 30 Bridge gets reconstructed,
Yes.
there will always be maintained at least one lane to pass.
Mhm.
So Water Street will not be a detour for Route 30 during the construction of that bridge.
Oh, okay.
If that came
People
up.
have asked that question.
No, I didn't get that part.
Well, they were wondering whether Route 30 would be blocked for a period of time.
Oh, yeah.
And it will not be blocked.
That's good.
And recently, Lou knows better than me, there was some work done. Wasn't there by West?
Oh, there was a telephone.
Yeah, the
Well, that
telephone
too.
pole was
Finally was
removed.
eliminated.
They took it down, but
They left
they
it there.
could still lay.
It's not still there, is it?
It was.
I haven't
No,
looked in
I
the
think
past
somebody
2
did.
Because I asked Keith to remove it, it was still there.
Oh, I'll look, I haven't looked in the past week.
Okay.
But and then the road was, because it was very narrow.
Right.
They
Or
filled
because
some of
they
that
were
in,
watching
right?
out.
By
It was the
grading.
hole.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's how it's gonna be, or?
Well, we'll have to
Okay.
look after we redesign it.
Yes, I'd like to, is there a way I could find out about when you're doing that and?
We could try to remember every once in a while. You could
I
call
know.
the town clerk's office and say, do you know what's going on? We'll
Tony, just ask me every time you come to a meeting. That'll make
Thank you.
But we'll try to, I'm sure we'll keep everybody informed on that,
Right,
on Water Street of what's going on.
good.
We'll try the best we can.
Thank you. That's really, I was just curious. I've been curious about what was going on.
Well, you're very welcome.
Yeah.
Go back to number 6. We have to get the warning done and approve the warning for town meeting. Does anybody need a book?
I think Mary went
Does anybody need an old book?
Last year's?
Last year's?
I don't have it on.
Do you want one?
Yeah, it's probably a good idea.
Brian?
Sure.
Lou, well, she's gone because of my fantastic computer skills. I lost the name of the correction in number 7.
Okay, it's called the Vermont Transportation Alternatives Grant. It used to be called Transportation Enhancement Grant, it's changed the name.
Yes.
Oh, you have one. Okay, the first, we'll have to do the little blurb where it says illegal voters, and it'll be warned 10 o'clock, town hall, and it'll be the first Tuesday in March, which is March 5th. So we'll take the 6 out and put 5, and 2013. And article number 1, what page was 7? And then it'll be warning 13, town warning 2013 annual meeting. Article number 1, to elect a moderator for a term of 1 year, and that's always a 1-year position. Article number 2, to act on the report of the auditors. Article 3, to elect the following officers as required by law. And let's see, I believe. We have I'm sorry.
I need to have this down.
No, that's okay. I can send you a thing of what we've done. I'll make a copy and send it to you. Let's see, select person for a 3-year term. And let's see, who's going out now?
That would be my position.
That will be Lou's. Okay, so that'll be for a 3-year term, so that'll go to, okay, all right.
There's 1 3-year.
1 3-year, select person for 1 year, and a selectman for 1 year. Okay, so we don't have to put the dates, we'll know. Okay, a lister,
So,
I'm sorry,
whose terms are up this year?
whose term is it?
Well, Paul and Andy are on a 1-year term, and I'm on a 3-year term.
You're on it.
Mine's next year, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yours expires.
Damn.
Mine's
Is
15.
yours 3?
I don't know about this year.
Okay, so, but wait a minute, mine says 12.
You were thrown out last year, you're still here.
I know. Is there an error on that one? Should that have been 14 also?
What do we
Was it
do?
you and I last year?
I got elected with you.
Last year.
And
Because I'm on a 1-year
Alexa
rotation.
was elected 3 years.
I think she did.
Alexa got elected for the 3-year term.
Last year with me.
Right. Okay, so
So
it's,
you were once all,
okay, so it's Stuart Barker, so
and you were,
you came in Stuart
You
Barker.
came earlier.
Andy, Paul,
This is like my 3rd 1-year term.
okay, so then, okay, so, all right, so it's Andy and
Paul.
Paul
Mm-hmm.
and Lou.
Lou's up.
So those 3 are up, right?
Right.
So it's pretty, that stays the same then.
So that's a 3-year, and these 2 are 1 year. All right, God bless you.
Bless you.
Lister for a term of 3 years. Let's see, I guess it's the other ones. It looks like Valerie might be up.
Where is this
Lister's,
Sit right here, she's at 13. And there's 12, probably 13.
I think she's, yeah.
they don't tell them here.
Yeah, on page 3, it kind of. So it's Valerie's, this is up. Okay, auditor for a term of 3 years. What I would like to propose, would you have that in front of you, that email?
I have to bring it back up.
Okay, last year we had a problem trying to get auditors to commit. I mean, I think we spent almost 20 minutes seeing if we could get 2 auditors. We have Kristen Wilson, who's our auditor, and then there was 2 others that term was up, so they had to, and nobody wanted to. Well, after town meeting, we tried to solicit people and whatnot, and finally 2 folks said that they would do it, Ed and Jennifer Duque. But given the amount of money that the town goes through, the money we get from FEMA for the flood stuff, FEMA for highway, it's more complex, and the folks that are, that you pick out of the audience usually don't have an auditing background. So sometimes it's difficult to maybe catch something or whatever that a regular CPA could do. I would like to entertain that we eliminate voting for the, on auditors, and have an article that we hire a CPA every year for auditing the books. And this would, you know, they'll go through everything. That's what they do all the time. The auditors we used when there was a changeover, they do municipalities. But it'll be up to the voters whether they want to go through that or not.
So we need to warn,
We need to warn that.
basically requesting that the voters
Right.
decide that we should hire a
Right,
qualified
well,
auditor rather than elect one.
Right. Lou has, my computer's broken, so you can read it, Lou, just keep it.
Well, you need to sign in again with your password.
Oh, sorry.
I had logged out.
Oh,
You can just continue.
It's a good idea.
I don't know how much it runs per year, but I know I'm in a nonprofit, and it runs around $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 a year to have it done.
Right, those are, like, we have to have a full audit this year.
That's more.
And that's gonna be
That's even
about,
more. It's around 15, 18.
yes, about $18,000. We'll have the figures for town meeting from this company when they do a single audit. But I think it's fair to the taxpayers to make sure that everything is going properly. I mean, you hear about folks that it's easy to move money around, and we're dealing with an awful lot of money.
I'm just concerned whether they'll vote that.
Right, well, we'll see.
Well, then we'll be back to.
Then we'll be back to the,
Yeah, there'll also be a savings in that we won't be paying our 3 local auditors as well. So there'll be a small savings on the other end.
I just think that this is, we have gotten, in the last couple of years, the financial situation's gotten so intense and complicated that this isn't something that should be, position should be filled from the floor. It needs to be vetted.
okay, let's see.
Besides, no one wants to do it from the floor anyway.
No, they
Well,
don't.
yeah. And if somebody did, we'd be suspicious of it.
Did you find it, Lexi?
I did. I contacted our attorney, Paul Gillies, and asked him if that was something that the town could entertain. And he said that we could. As a matter of fact, the town that he lives in, Berlin, that's what they had done, due to the fact that, you know, there's so much more money going through, let's see. Okay, what we'll have to do is hire a CP every year under the law once you have eliminated that position, if it gets eliminated. Those who hold appointed offices will cease to hold the office 45 days after the vote. So in our warning, it would be, a town may vote by ballot at an annual meeting to eliminate the office of town auditor. If a town votes to eliminate the office of town auditor, the select board shall contract with a public accountant licensed in this state to perform an annual financial audit of all funds of the town. Unless otherwise provided by law, the select board shall provide for all other auditor duties to be performed. A vote to eliminate the office of town auditor shall remain in effect until rescinded by majority vote of the legal voters present and voting by ballot at an annual meeting duly warned for that purpose. So it's up to us if we want to,
I think this is a very good idea.
because it's only going to get, you know, more and more complicated.
So is that, we'll have to do that every year?
Yes, we'll do it.
Every year.
Not a full audit.
Not a full audit.
No, but every year, once we decide this, then no more auditors.
Oh, right, no more voting.
Right.
Yeah, just.
And that mentions that, and
Yeah.
I kind of
Right.
drifted off there at the end. But once it's done, it's done. If it was
And
already.
Can we
And
rescind
it can be rescinded by
Somebody grows up.
by vote if somebody decides to ask to have it.
Takes a lot off your shoulders.
It does, and even for the the auditors from the,
Right,
from the floor,
right.
it's not an easy task anymore. You're not just looking at the checkbook and the orders going out to match. There's so many more accounts. It's gotten very complex.
Yeah.
And I think for the safety of the treasurer and the town and the taxpayers, it's best to hire a professional.
We aren't voting on the warrant tonight, that's the next meeting.
No, we'll just put it in the in the article, and then the voters will,
So I would suggest that we include that in this year's.
article, in warning rather, I'm sorry.
Warning, yeah.
Yes. Okay, so do we have a second on that?
Oh, is this a motion you just
Yeah,
made?
we'll do a motion.
Okay, I'll move that we include that in the town warning.
No, I'd say,
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
aye.
Okay, next is first constable for 1 year, second constable for a term of 1 year, town grand juror for 1 year, town agent for 1 year, trust of public funds for 1 year, agent to deed land for a term of 1 year, library trustee for a term of 5 years. And I don't know. Trustee, looks like Janet Hamilton, Nancy Johnson are those two.
They're both for 5 years?
I believe so.
Looks like everything's a 5-year term.
Yeah, they're all 5 year. So it's their turn. Okay. And then we can make, we can do Article 4 for the auditors. We'll do that. No, wait a minute, I'm sorry. Let's leave Article 4. Shall the voters appropriate the sum of, we haven't gotten any written requests. This was for a request for one of the folks that are asking money for the town.
Oh, we have a new request this
We
year?
don't have any,
They didn't ask this year, but they did last year.
yeah, we don't have anybody that asks for any, we don't have any special. So we can do number 4, can be for the auditors then, so we'll cross that one out. And we'll use the right words that Attorney Gillis gave us. Number 5, to see what sum of money the
Before
voters.
we do that, though,
I'm sorry.
we need to put an article in the warning regarding surplus of funds we had in 2011 and also in 2012.
Right, okay, so we want to do that, you want to do that under 4 then?
Yeah, let's do that
Okay,
before the Article 5.
Okay, so we'll do 4 as,
Instead of the auditor?
right, we'll do
No,
auditor.
let's do the auditor first. It doesn't really matter which order. we do.
Right.
Right,
But it's got to be before what is now current Article number 5.
5, right.
Right.
Okay, so we can do number 4 can be the auditor. Number 5 will be
Surplus.
the surplus. Okay, and number 6 will be to see what the sum of money the voters will vote to pay the town's running expenses. And number 7, to see if the voters will authorize the select board to borrow money in anticipation of taxes. Number 8, shall the voters authorize the select board to spend unanticipated funds such as grants, gifts, or interest. And number 9, to set time for the opening of the next annual town meeting to be held on the first Tuesday in March 2014.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
You have your numbers.
Under new number 8, authorize the select board to spend unanticipated funds. Do we need to do that every year?
Yes.
We do?
Mhm.
Okay.
Number 9,
Otherwise, we can't spend them.
right. The voters have to give us permission. We just can't have it there.
They can't just give us permission like
No, for
10
years.
or the
No.
rest of it.
No,
In perpetuity.
Perpetuity.
right. Because they might see you, with new outfits or something and say,
It was unanticipated.
was that anticipated? Yeah, new ski outfit. Number 9, number 10, excuse me, to transact any other business that may legally come before the board, for the meeting. Number 11, to adjourn. and then approved as the legal town warning for the town of Jamaica for March 5th, 2013 on this. Today is the 14th day of January 2013. Okay, so everybody go through that and see if they want to,
What
if that's
if
all right?
we decided we didn't want to appropriate any funds to the visiting nurses? Would that be something that would be on the warrant, or?
We would have to notify
We would
them.
leave it out of our budget for sure,
Right.
and then I suppose we would have to,
They would have to request, well, they've already requested it.
Yeah.
Right.
we might put it on
We can put it in the
the
article.
warning, just to give the people the opportunity of deciding that on their own.
Okay.
And I think anybody from the floor
They
can
can,
ask to, can make a motion to add funds to the budget for some reason.
Right.
right.
Yeah.
We've done that.
We've done that before, right. I forgot which,
For
it was for
what
the
we were
arts.
talking about, and
Some art.
gathering
program,
place-
right,
Gathering
right.
place, they did it once.
Right, they
I
can
think
bring
they
it
asked
up.
for $250.
I remember the one
Something like
time we had a budget for the school that was humongous, and that went flying through, no problems whatsoever. That art project
Oh, it took
came
an
up,
hour
and we spent a whole hour on it.
for $500 or something,
$500,
yeah. People are like that, it's funny. Does anybody want to have anything that we need to add or subtract?
I've got a little correction on page 3, but it's not necessarily exciting.
Well, we can't correct this book.
No, but we should correct it for the next one.
What, in page 3? What is
Yeah.
it? They spelled your name wrong?
No, it is, well, it's spelled it very, very wrong. It started out with S-O-P-H-I-A. I'm now the town service officer, not Sophia. Sophia, sorry.
Oh, that's okay, that was just a typo.
Yeah.
That's it?
That's it, that's no big deal. Nobody bothered you, see?
No, they came anyway.
They find
They
you.
found me anyway, but
You can put your name there and they'll find you. All right, did we have a motion to approve?
I move that well, are we actually approving the warning?
Yes.
Well, what?
Yes, because I noticed.
Go ahead.
I think Terry told me it had to be approved by the early part of February.
Well, we have to have it approved before February 1st.
I have no problem approving
Do you want to wait?
the warning, but we don't have the exact numbers for the surplus, so.
Okay, all right, so then why don't we,
And would there be different wording for about the auditor thing? Or?
No, she has the
no, I
warning.
have the
Oh,
word, I
so
have the
that-
word.
We could approve the warning and then just put the numbers in.
If that's okay, that's fine with me.
Right.
Yeah, we can
I
put the
think
numbers
so,
in.
yeah.
Wait,
Well, we'll move to do that.
If that's the case, then I'll
That's-
move to approve
okay.
the warning with the numbers for the surplus to be plugged in by the treasurer.
okay, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's warning, it's been approved. I think that was the last thing on there. I'll see Terry and Pat tomorrow, Wednesday. And Brian, do you have anything? Lou?
The sidewalk, if you recall, I sent you all an email, there's a town here, a meeting about that on Wednesday night. I'm hoping that all
It's
of
for the
you can come.
grant.
This
Is
Wednesday?
that
This is
correct?
to apply for the grant that was on that was discussed at the last meeting,
Wednesday this week.
this week, the
Right.
16th.
At 6 o'clock.
At 6 o'clock, not
Right.
7 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
And if anybody's interested in seeing the application, I'll get the application here.
Okay.
I don't know if you think I need to have the authority to sign it, or is that already been given?
You've been doing this for a long time, so
Do you need a motion for that?
I don't think so. No, you can sign it.
Okay, that's fine.
Well, if we did a motion, then we'd be covered.
Okay, well, then we can do a motion. Okay. All right, why don't we do a motion? All right, Brian, you want to do a motion?
Make a motion that we have Lou sign what do you want to call it?
Vermont Transportation Alternatives Grant.
Vermont Transportation Alternatives Grant Application
On behalf of the board.
on behalf of the
Is there a second?
I'd second that.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Anything else, Lou?
Nope.
Paul?
As you all know, the HMGP application process is over. So I don't know if y'all had any questions or anything. I'd entertain those. No?
Pretty blunt.
Well, we did our
It
best.
took us long enough to
Right.
get that
We
answer.
took everything, we tried everything. And up until last week, the state and their SAIC cohorts were trying to come up with another angle and crunching numbers in the computer, and there's just no way to make it work. And the reason why it is not working is because the properties, A, were not in the floodplain, and B, the provisions for doing it not in the floodplain included we had to prove that 4 episodes of what they call severe repetitive loss. We had to show that the place has been damaged 4 times, and 2 within 10 years, and we just couldn't show that. The homes themselves have been standing for a number of years and survived lots of the previous floods. This one took them, but it doesn't work.
Right.
There is the possibility of the state is, as we speak, pursuing the community development block grant process. There's nothing for us to do right now. We will be contacted if it ever comes up. They'll be working that process.
Right, and we'll be sure we ask a lot of questions on
We
if there's any restrictions, what are they looking for before we have them delve into it, and then all of a sudden get the hopes up again and say, no.
We're much smarter now than we were.
Right, we know exactly what to, and never mind just rushing into it, take our time and really think about it.
That was a tough time anyway, so, I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, it'll be-
We can all feel comfortable that we did our best.
Right.
Paul did his
I
best.
think we could
Yeah,
think
I mean, Paul did a lot of work on that and really tried very, very hard.
And I think that the select board ought to be aware, there is, unlike the HMGP, which didn't work, the CDBG does not provide funds for the administrative work needed to chase that. So we've talked about this before, that we will not be paying anybody to do the CDBG,
Right.
because there's no funds for it. So I will continue to do whatever's necessary for the town, but understand that there's just, it's not going to be a...
Right, because all the work
you
that
know,
Paul has put into it now and the time and the money spent, it's put on the taxpayers. But at least we tried.
it won't all be in vain.
We don't know.
It'll be useful.
It'll be useful
We're smarter than we
information.
were
Right.
before, if that's not in vain.
Well, speak for yourself.
Do you have anything else, Paul?
That's all.
Andy?
Oh, maybe as health officer,
Okay.
I've handed out some more water test kits, which the state still isn't charging for. I guess they're still treating it as Irene. You can still get the E. coli coliform for no fee. And I was asked to do a rental inspection, and I learned that if they're not in the apartment and they're not paying rent, that I don't have to do one. Learned that from the state of Vermont after I did it. And that's about it.
I'd like to bring up the complaint that you called us about.
Okay, because I was going to bring that up too.
Okay, good.
Okay. I had a telephone call the other day from homeowners from Connecticut. They live on Halls Farm Road. I asked them to come to a board meeting and they did not want to. So they ran by me their issue. They live like on Halls Farm Road, was down here. There's an embankment here, and then there's Cobb Road up here. And where Bomber Brown used to live, you know where that is.
Who?
Bomber Brown, Carol Brown, where Sophia used to live. You know where Elsie Cobb lived? It lives, well, it's in that section. Well, David Booth owns the house now. They're renting it out. So these folks from Connecticut live down here. There's a big embankment, and these folks rent up here. Last summer, the lady and her husband went up and talked to the folks. I asked them, do you know who these people are? Do you know the address? And she had no clue. They have some farm animals. and it's affecting the quality of her life. It smells like a farm. And I said, is it doing anything to your water, to your well, or anything like that? She says, well, I don't know, but maybe it could at some time. And also, she's got flies in her house. Well, who doesn't have flies in their house in Vermont? So I said I would check into it and get back to her. I did some checking with an attorney, and people can have a farm. You can have farm animals in Vermont. And I called Ed and Judy to see if, because my computer was broken, to see if we had anything in the town plan, and there's nothing.
We encourage farming.
Right, so,
And it is called Howe Farm Road.
Halls.
no, Halls.
Oh,
Halls, they're
Halls
Halls.
Farm
It's
Lane.
Lane, I'm sorry, Halls
That's
Farm
what it's
Lane.
called here, yeah.
Okay. And so I told her I'd get back to her within a couple of weeks. I wanted to make sure I got all the information before I just called her. And I did say that she probably won't like the answer that I have for her, kind of forewarned her. So I will get back to her and,
Well, the only way we can even enforce anything is if there's an ordinance, and there is
And we
no
don't have any
such
ordinance.
ordinance.
no. And I'll just tell her that, you know,
So,
if she wants to bring a lawsuit against these people herself, she's more than happy to.
yeah.
But that would be her expense, and up to her, but there's nothing that we can do. And that's the only
Unless it
complaint.
was contaminating her wildlife.
No, she said it was very clean up there, very neat. The wood was stacked neatly. Everything was nice and neat. She said it really looked nice.
Now, is she a renter too?
No, she owns two pieces of property on Hall's Farm Lane. Down below.
Remember Halls Farm Lane?
Yeah.
Okay, they've owned that property for 11 years. And then these people rent from David Booth. And there is quite a little bit of property up there. I don't know how much.
Well, we're down to under 1,000 farms in Vermont now.
In Vermont.
I think so.
Yeah.
We've lost like 2,000 in the past
Yeah.
12 years, 15, 17 years.
Are they being
No, like dairy
consolidated?
farms.
Are they being consolidated or
Just
just
can't
each
afford
other?
to run them.
It's expensive.
Thing is, Bomber used to have cows out there.
Did he? I don't
Before
remember.
they had their place down there.
Okay, up there, yeah.
Because when I was 17, I bought some of them.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of land there for animals. I mean, I don't know what's there. She said maybe some calves, maybe a pig.
They got small calves and I don't know.
Well, they probably have a pig, but they probably butcher it.
What's that?
They probably butcher the pig, right? Maybe,
If
possibly.
they had them, they probably did it in the fall.
In the fall, yeah.
Don't tell her that, it'd be something else they won't like.
They don't have a rooster yet. They don't have a rooster yet. So she was happy about that. So I have nothing else. If we could entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Motion adjourned, motion approved. Everybody say aye.
Aye.
Please. All right, meeting adjourned at 8:00.